Hi students, welcome back to the last part of your nervous system chapter. So we'll be looking at voluntary actions and reflex actions in this part of the video. So as the name suggests, voluntary actions is based on your own will. So for example, if I see a cup of hot tea, I will think whether it is hot enough for me to pick it up, or do I have to leave it there and grab maybe a cloth to pick it up with. Reflex actions, on the other hand, is whereby I see the cup of tea and without thinking I pick it up, and if it is too hot I will just let go of it. So the thing for reflex action is I will let go of it even before I register that it's hot. So which is why reflex actions, they are automatic, okay, so they are not controlled, and it is often considered to be life-saving. Okay, so voluntary actions, okay, it can involve a sensory neuron, or it can also not involve a sensory neuron. So example of involving a sensory neuron is you will decide when you want to withdraw your hand away from someone who is holding it. Okay, so when it does not involve a sensory neuron, it is sort of the opposite, whereby you will then decide whether you want to shake the hand of someone that is extending it to you. Okay, so both the voluntary action and reflex action will both involve the spinal cord to some extent, okay, unless it is talking about the eye, because the eye nerves is connected more directly to the brain than, let's say, your feet, for example. Okay, however, the difference between your voluntary action and your reflex action, for your reflex action, it does not involve the brain. Information is sent, as we saw earlier on, from sensory neuron to relay neuron and then directly to your motor neuron. Okay, so during this relay process, there will be some information that is shoot up to the brain, and your brain will then decipher, which is why you only feel the heat of a cup or a hot bowl of soup after a short period of time. Maybe a few, less than a second, you feel it. That's how fast your nerve transmissions work. Okay, so for reflex action, it takes place via this thing called your reflex arc. So your reflex arc is the shortest possible route that connects your receptor, for example your heat receptor at your hand, to your effector, which is your muscles at your hand. Okay, so as you can see here, which we have been going through so far, from your heat receptor transmit to the sensory neuron. Okay, so there is still no information of the heat during this entire period. It will then go to your relay neuron, to your motor neuron, and it will elicit an effect at the effector. So information from during this period of time, some will go straight down to your effector, causing you to move your hand away. Some will go to the brain, and that's when you actually feel the heat a couple of milliseconds later. Okay, so over here, other examples of your reflex arc, you have got your knee jerk. So often doctors will use this to test whether the patient is having any neurological issues along the spine. So by right, you have got a stretch receptor at your knee. So what the doctor does is that he will then tap it gently, and your knee will just jerk up on its own. So if there is something wrong with the spinal cord, there is no such response that is elicited. So the reflex arc here, we have got the stretch receptor, which is the effector. It will then send the information to your sensory neuron, okay, and immediately to your motor neuron. Okay, so it bypasses your relay neuron, so immediately to your motor neuron, and your muscles will jerk. Okay, so on the other hand, touching a hot object, this is the one we have been going through so far. You have got the sensory receptors. Okay, you also have the relay neuron that is being involved in. Okay, so these are the two main reflex arc that you have. Okay, that's about it for this part of the chapter on the nervous system. Thank you for watching.